to another edition of the Green Room podcast. Today is actually a little special one because your boy is hosting. I asked these fine gentlemen if I can redeem myself, because last week I was super stuck because my Wi-Fi is trash. So sorry, this is fairly new for me. So we have Rye Guy, the Maestro, J Rod.
What up? What up?
We also have J Bills in the building.
Yeah. What up? What up?
Mr. Nico Suave.
Cheers.
Myself, your host, Sammy, EPIC, Sibong Suk. So yeah, my internet was tripping last week, so I kind of, asked these guys if I could, host and redeem myself for that. Speaking of tripping, there's actually, I don't know if you guys heard, but the legalization of use of medical psilocybin, right? So people, they say it helps with like depression, anxiety, and stuff like that. Even like addiction, to help people get off addiction. There's like a lot of speculation, like people think like it's not a good idea, but I feel like personally, with the right kind of advice and the right medical kind of advocates,
right environment.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be a good substance to actually help people. Brian, what's your intake on that?
I mean, one thing that if you want to kind of get started in that, I don't have like, I'm not like a genius or anything. I haven't super researched it, but I remember the first thing that people should check out definitely is Paul Stamets on Joe Rogan. This is a few years back, but
is that the mushroom guy?
Yeah, he's
like his hat is made out of mushrooms.
Yeah, there's a picture of him like on Google with the hat made of mushrooms. He's a mycologist. That's what I believe the term is, and basically he just studies fungus, and specifically he studies psilocybin mushrooms and the effects it has on the neurological system. And it's a really interesting discussion. He shares a lot of the things that he was finding in his research, and discussed. And this is way back again. He discussed like a bunch of patents he had with the U.S. government to research this stuff. And he also essentially shared some of the things that they're finding. I don't know if we can say proven yet completely, but potentially these psilocybin mushrooms, they can be used to treat things like PTSD. I think they said Alzheimer's, and obviously various neurological disorders like depression and anxiety and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a fun guy to me. In terms of this legalization, is it in the States? Is this
in Canada? I believe it was back in August. They kind of they gave some permits to certain medical professionals, I believe.
Yeah, they there's actually like a few different companies. I can't think of the ones specifically, but basically what they do is they open up clinics where they do studies. Some of them were early adopters that also did like medical studies on cannabis, but a lot of them are also now starting to do studies and open up different clinics on psilocybin mushroom treatments as well, medicinally. I believe a couple months back, I believe it got legalized in Portland, Oregon, if I'm...
Yeah, I believe that, yeah.
That makes sense. They have a huge issue with opioid addiction there.
Yeah.
I've heard there's like traces where people have actually or psilocybin's actually helped people with addiction as well.
Yeah,
I watched this podcast. It was Joe Rogan's actually. There was a more recent one. His name is Dr. Carl Hart. He's a big advocate of drug use and stuff like that. He goes on to saying drugs are portrayed in a certain way, and that's the reason why people are afraid of doing drugs and stuff like that, right? But like I said, with the right environment and the right people kind of guiding you, it's actually, purposeful.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge discrepancy between the term drug and when you refer to things such as cannabis and psilocybin, because those are technically not drugs, right? Drugs are pharmaceuticals. They're made in labs. They're derivatives from natural sources, obviously, but it's so far removed from what it was that you have all sorts of issues that arise from it. I mean, everybody knows this. Even taking too much Tylenol will fuck you up.
Too much anything will fuck you up, really.
Too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Exactly. I've had situations where I've taken too much mushrooms and I feel like I was a serial killer.
That's super dark.
I want to go back and touch on that because that's interesting.
Right?
But I mean, I remember Paul Stamets would say that like almost you can never take enough shrooms essentially, and the more shrooms you take, the more introspective healing that you would have.
It's like a trap.
Saying something like that on the podcast. Yeah.
I feel like it's all about environment.
I feel like, environment is important, and you just have to be the type of human being that can handle that. You have to be able to ride that wave because,
of course,
we've experienced it, and we've shared that experience with our listeners.
Truman Show.
Not visually.
Yeah, Truman Show.
Thank God.
That'd be a wild one of those visuals.
Show part 2.
No, it would just be us beating out.
Literally us beating out.
It would be hilarious though if people could see, because you could see even when we're not talking, like us going through like waves. Like I remember vividly. Like I think we had the lights purple. I don't even think we were actually going green that night. We had For those of you who don't know, when we used to do it, we would do it in the dark because we weren't videotaping, and we'd have like these glowing neon lights above us, and I think we had them at the shade of purple. I remember just at one point looking across the table at Jay Bills while I was like on the biggest wave, and I looked at him and I could see it right in his face. This guy was riding a different wave, but he was on the wave like I was. You know what I'm saying?
Nico was in the Matrix. Nico was literally
definitely in the Matrix. That shit was crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was funny how you say like. Oh, my bad. I was saying, like, it's funny when you say that when you do a lot of shrooms, it could possibly open up like healing properties. I remember one time my boy Barbs was telling me that he ate bare shrooms, and one time he thought he was Jesus.
So he was like,
Shout out to Barbs.
Not only got healed by the shrooms, he became a healer.
Shout out to Barbs.
I was dying, bro. He's like, yo, I literally thought I was like Jesus or something, dog. Like I can feel, man. I was like, oh, word.
That's fucking amazing. This guy's
Do you guys think it'll ever? Do you guys think it'll ever like open like a doorway to like other psychedelics like LSD and stuff like that?
Yeah.
As a medicinal use, I don't know about recreational use for something like LSD because it may be too powerful to contain. Essentially, I don't know exactly, like, so don't quote me on this.
Right.
But the way I would picture it is taking LSD would be so much more of a trip that it would be almost like if you could have one drink that turns someone into a blackout drunk. So I feel like in that way, it might not, for safety reasons, I don't think it would get to a recreational spot. Maybe because crazier things have happened. And I believe, what country is it? Is basically, is it the Netherlands? Almost all drugs, if not all drugs, are like essentially
decriminalized or decriminalized. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's totally possible. I don't know if I see it over here a little too politically correct our way in North America, Canada specifically. Not to talk shit about Canada, I love Canada, but you know, that's kind of what I think is that it. But LSD, like opening the door to another drug, I know that some of the companies at least that are building these, essentially building these psilocybin products, they're also involved in kind of that next step too, and are affiliated with sort of the research on using other psychedelics like LSD and MDMA, I think is another one that they might use. I'm not sure.
Is it Theracil, what do they call it? The main drug that they use for psilocybin.
Is it? I don't even know. They might even experiment with DMT. I have no idea.
DMT. Do you think mushrooms, right, guy, will ever be legalized like recreationally?
Yeah. I think so.
You think so?
Possibly.
I don't know, man. It's kind of a touchy.
Like all around the world, I don't know. In certain places.
Like here in Canada, though.
Here in Canada, specifically in North America, maybe. But I
personally don't think so.
Yeah,
I think it's. I think it's too much for people to be responsible with. It's not like we're talking weed, right? Like you can smoke a pound of weed and you'll just fucking throw up and pass out.
Get a major headache.
What about this though? Okay, what about instead of it like, oh, I can go fucking to the store, like I can go buy an ounce of weed, I can go buy an ounce of shrooms. How about instead of that, it's more like a Tylenol, but maybe in the form of gummy, where you can only buy sort of a small concentrated dose. So in order to do so, you would have to buy like, in order to get like a ridiculous amount of shrooms or whatever, or
so a prescription,
decent amount of shrooms. Well, not necessarily prescription. I'm saying like a Tylenol. You can go buy a Tylenol. You could go buy a shroom gummy that has like maybe not even a gram worth of psilocybin in it. And then in order to get like super fucked up, you have to get like a ton of those, which would be one, too costly for the average consumer, and two, the person could do that at their own risk because you understand the risk if you're taking that many things. Is like you understand the risk if I buy a bottle of Tylenol and I take every one of them at once. I see it as the same thing potentially. So that's why I'm saying I'm still with you because I highly doubt it, just because of the stigma. But I'm saying if you compare it to something like that, then it's hard to argue against the possibility.
I mean, if it was regulated, like what you're saying, or if you need a requisition from sort of a physician that you do need this for whatever it is, for whatever ailment, then yeah, definitely. J-Rob, what do you think?
To be honest with you, I highly doubt that it would happen. You know what I mean? But like Raga, just as you were saying, you could probably get a pill where it's super, super like, a very, very, very small amount, like prescribed. No matter what, there's going to be people out there that are going to abuse it. Like, look at shit like
anything really, alcohol.
You know what I mean? Look at Oxy. Look at the fentanyl patches. You know what I mean? Like, people abuse the shit out of that, no matter what. You know what I mean? I highly doubt it'll we'll get to heavy recreational use like marijuana. I don't think so.
Yeah, like the thing that's not in its favor, as opposed to like, because you, again, the same thing that you just described, you could apply that to almost any over-the-counter drug. But the difference is those drugs don't have the same stigma that psilocybin mushrooms have. Also,
like, we're fucking human beings here. You know what I mean? Like, we're matters-able, like, as a whole. You know what I mean? You can't trust niggas with fucking a shitload of shrooms like that.
Your kids would be being out here in these streets if he let shrooms be illegal. I'm telling from now.
Yeah.
Like their kids. I can fly, jumping on windows and shit.
Man, but like I've heard of like, but it could possibly, if bear kids are doing shrooms, it could possibly be used for good. I know I've heard stories of like coders who take shrooms and just fucking write bare lines of code and shit.
They also do blow and fucking Adderalls.
Yeah,
and so the people who control our financial systems and the people who control our government. But
doesn't make it a good thing though.
No, because everyone's on drugs, just not everyone's gonna admit it.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Like the Beatles or like Jimi Hendrix do.
I don't know anyone who's not completely sober. Everyone has a drug, whether you want to classify it as a drug or not, whether it can be classified as a drug or not. Everyone has a drug. Everyone.
Alcohol is a drug.
Alcohol, fucking writing is a drug to some people. talking is a drug to some people. Like,
see, I don't know. Like, I think you're generalizing drug.
I am.
My hands are drugs.
But I'm saying the psychological effects of when we talk about drugs, people mostly talk about impairment and addiction. And I believe that things that aren't necessarily drugs can cause impairment and addiction in people because we have addictive personalities that cloud our judgment, essentially.
True.
Like everyone has.
I know where you're coming from, but I'm just trying to find it hard to compare something like writing music or some shit to a drug, right? I mean, it's not detrimental to your health. You don't become dependent on it.
You ever watch Pump and Iron? Arnold Schwarzenegger essentially calls
I definitely watched that.
Pump a drug, right? It was an addiction for him. He said it was.
Yeah, but that's also
better than coming, like
in combination with body dysmorphia and steroid abuse.
Drugs.
Bodybuilders are they are body dysmorphic, right? It's essentially a mental disorder. They also have terrible, it's just a combination of things. It's not just one thing, right? But
they'll never be satisfied.
Essentially, they're basically very fit, obese people because they eat constantly and shit, and they take steroids, and all they do is work out. But I mean, did you do any reading up on what the relationships between using psilocybin mushrooms and sort of helping with depression? Like, does that help neurologically or something?
Yeah, it all stems to neurological, right? Like, it puts
in what way?
It's like it puts you in a state of euphoric, you know what I mean? Mental state, pretty much. I didn't get into too much of it. I just kind of briefly read over some stuff and listened to a couple of doctors. But it's very new, so myself, I can only go off of experience, right? And it affects people in different ways at the end of it.
Yeah,
just wondering if it has sort of a neurological, it does something neurologically, or
I don't know the exact science, but just based on, I don't know the exact science. I don't think they know the exact science of it yet either, right? But essentially, the idea, the principal idea of it, is when you take a controlled amount of psilocybin mushrooms in a controlled environment. What happens is you kind of have this introspection, and by having this introspection and talking to yourself in almost like another plane, it alters your way of thinking. And some people can come out of an experience like that changed, or at least with a better understanding of themselves, and that essentially enables them to move past whatever is blocking their mental capability.
Right, because it's repressed or suppressed.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it might, I don't know if it does anything obviously it does something physically, but it's the result of taking it that helps treat the trauma in itself. Because I'm thinking, you were talking about it, Sammy, and I was thinking that how to you think about psilocybin mushrooms, but mushrooms in general are probably the ultimate healing food. If you look at mushrooms like chaga mushrooms, lion's mane, and reishi mushrooms, they are the strongest antiviral, antiparasitic, antibacterial, and have cancer-fighting properties. So, I mean, to classify psilocybin mushrooms in that genre as well is not far-fetched by any means, because there have been stories of cancer patients in stage 3, stage 4 who have approached this holistically, and chemo didn't help, whatever. And a lot of times these people use or consume these types of mushrooms, whether they be dried or eaten raw or stewed, obviously in combination with dietary changes and alkaline diets, fasting, all that stuff. And their cancer has been completely gone, removed.
Remitted.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's crazy.
So it does make sense that also mushrooms can heal you psychologically.
Yeah. You have you have a resource we can share with the listeners on?
Probably just
like a story. Anyone?
I don't have a specific story, but you can just Google healing properties of chaga mushrooms, in particular, lion's mane mushrooms.
There's actually a company that makes a coffee out of lion's mane mushrooms.
Yeah. Like you can find them in any health food store, which is pretty crazy because such an accessible thing that has such a strong healing property.
Yeah, and they don't teach you that in school, right?
No, they don't.
They don't teach you a lot in school.
Why would they?
That's your goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Mathematics and...
They want to make money off of you.
Yeah. You need to be...
That's another thing, too. Like, once the pharmaceutical companies get a hold of it, it's going to be a lucrative business, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why... Especially when cannabis was legalized, the option to grow your own cannabis was very appealing to myself and others because, I mean, from experience, the cannabis that we get from the government, might not be the best. Who knows what they put in it? Right? Just like anything that they sell, right?
Who knows what the man I bought off the corner put in it? Same thing, basically.
Love and care,
like
love
the
and
option
care.
to grow your own, right?
Yes.
That from seed to flower that I just put fucking coffee grounds in this or fucking banana peels, whatever. Not no glyphosate or pesticides or fungicides or anything like that, right?
Yeah, anything that could be harmful.
Which I feel really contributes to things like cannabinoid hyperemesis, something like J-Rod experiences.
I believe that too.
I can't even pronounce what you just said.
Things, or just the brain dead nature that you see a lot of really, really heavy smokers are experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I mean, I hate to stray off topic too much, but it is just like the food that they sell in the grocery stores, right? Pump full of antibiotics or growth hormones, shit like that, right? So you just got to be mindful of where you obtain your things or your resources if you're going to consume it. Things like the psilocybin is not really regulated right now. I know you can get it in gummy form, right? I know, Guy, you hooked me up with one of those.
Yeah, I don't know how legal it is, but you have to get it.
We might have to edit that out. I meant another Rye Guy, not this guy.
It's a next one still. It's a next one.
Everyone else in the world,
next one.
Like they don't do drugs. Everybody does drugs.
Everybody on drugs.
How legal is marijuana though? You know what I mean? Like you have people still kind of growing their own stuff and putting on weed maps. You know what I mean? It's all a market, man. And people are just finding ways to kind of slip through the cracks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, humans by nature are opportunistic creatures. That's just how we survive, right? Find an avenue that's going to make us some extra bucks. Obviously, why not? Especially like at a time like this, right?
Yeah.
Personally, I feel like people so for those who don't know, in Canada, you can't just, if you want to start growing marijuana as a business, you can't just start that business. If you want to start selling marijuana as a business, you can't just start that business.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very long, tedious process, and you have to have good relationships.
It requires a lot of capital.
You have to have capital, exactly.
I mean, you could.
You can't just do that, but I like honestly, what I really wish is that it was kind of a free market. It was open to anyone to get into at any time, almost like e-commerce. Like you can start an e-commerce business tomorrow, no fucking problem, selling almost anything. But if you wanted to start growing and distributing and selling kush, which you can do in a very safe and very good way because it's profitable to you and not the government, can't do it. It's interesting, to say the least. I feel like I'm talking too much this episode. J-Rod, what's up?
No, it's all good, man. Like, I go back on our previous episodes, and it's just me talking for fucking 47 minutes.
Yeah, but we like listening to your story.
And I'm just like, oh.
No, but this is what I like because you're
talking again,
bro. You're like this sponge. Like you absorb all this information, but like then at a certain point, like you're done doing the dishes, so you're gonna rinse out the sponge.
Rinse.
So you start squeezing out the sponge, and we're all like, we're like the sink drain. And we're just like, give us that excess soapy knowledge there. Let us drink that in.
Rinse that.
That's the metaphor for it.
Don't kill metaphor.
So obviously, mushrooms have a bad stigma, and that derives from pop culture and stuff like that, right? Yeah. Like hip hop stuff, Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, it's almost like it's propaganda at the end of the day, right? Yeah. It's something that's natural, that can open your mind, that can heal. So it's also automatically taboo. It's a stigma, right? Whereas something like cigarettes,
they were telling man that cigarettes are good for you back in the day. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they didn't know shit back in the day.
I mean, smoke bogeys, it'll be fine. You're pregnant, cool, no problem. Babies like bogeys.
Germs back in the day. They didn't believe in viruses.
Yeah. Doctors, they used to say that even working out used to get athletes' heart, right? That's what they used to say. And exercise was bad for you. Your heart will explode type of shit. That's the type of, that's how far we've gotten.
It's like the same thing where they used to say butter or fats are bad and grains are good. Well, it's the complete fucking opposite, man. Mm-hmm. You should eat more fats. You should eat more butter. You should not eat nearly as much grains as people are eating, right? It's just a simple fact. Just look into it. But yeah, it's just when there's also automatically a stigma that's so popular in mainstream media or society, you almost have to turn the other cheek and be like, do your own due diligence. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, way back in the day, it was so much easier to suppress information. The offshoot of which, now that we're in the digital information age, is that it's so much easier to spread misinformation at a rapid pace. Mm-hmm. We've talked about that on plenty of other episodes. I mean, you like Sammy, you kind of talked about like the stigma aspect of it, and I don't know if I'm pretty sure we talked about this a little bit on podcast before, but I've invested in psilocybin mushroom companies. Not going to name names because I'm not giving my stock tips for free, but I made a couple investments a little while back that have been pretty good for me, or treated me pretty well, let's just say that. And the reason that kind of sparked that to me is because I watched this documentary on Netflix. I forget the exact title of it, something like Enjoy the Trip, but essentially it was a ton of famous and respected people like Sting, Deepak Chopra, A$AP Rocky's on it, a whole bunch of other famous people and comedians. And essentially what they were doing is explaining their experiences on taking different psychedelics and kind of prepping people for taking trips, and kind of the overall arc of the piece was essentially advocacy for these things and trying to destigmatize them. And as soon as I saw that, it clicked in my head, like, I kind of saw this pattern before when kind of the weed legalization movement was kind of going on. People were advocating for marijuana legalization, obviously, and it happened. So I said to myself, okay, so let me see if there's any shroom companies, and I happened to stumble upon some, and I made some investments. But it was that propaganda almost, that video, that advocacy that was like right there where it's like, okay, so this wave is coming. And so it's definitely coming, definitely legalization, medicinally, and possibly recreational, but I don't know about that. In Canada, maybe some fun states will do that.
Fair man's meaning.
But
everything's legal in Colorado.
I want to go to Colorado, bro. Colorado sounds like a great place to be.
Every time I hear Colorado, I think South Park. Every time.
Yeah.
South Park. Every time. I just die.
I'm so down.
I feel like if there was a mass legalization for something like psychedelics, it would just be too much of a paradigm shift in society. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone who hasn't experienced tripping realizes that we are infinitesimal compared to the grander scheme of things, right? Nothing really matters at the end of the day because like of some sort of existential meaning that you stumble upon when you're tripping, right? So people will just unveil the farce that is what we experience on a day-to-day basis, and I feel like the powers that be would be too hard at work trying to not let us access to something like that.
You're absolutely right, because they already don't give people access to a free and good education, in the sense that they don't require you to learn certain things that would benefit you way more than a lot of the things that they require you to learn. So I totally agree with you there.
Yeah. We can hope, though. We can dream, right?
Fingers crossed.
Funny too, like the last 20 years is like the whole shift with like just like substance in general, like drugs. If you think about like say, I go back to the hip hop thing, like Eminem had a song, My Fault. I don't know if you ever heard that song.
Sing it.
He's talking about
rap it for
never
us.
meant to give you mushroom, girl. Never meant to bring you to my world. That's a good song, man. But yeah, like he essentially talks about giving a girl too much mushrooms and she goes overboard, right? And she fucking ends up like
sounds like an Eminem song.
Yeah, which brings up kind of my my next topic too. Like I don't know if you guys heard.
That was a super segue.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard. There's a whole kind of beef going on between Snoop Dogg and Eminem.
Yeah.
So back in July, Snoop Dogg, he was featured on Charlemagne the God. Is that his name? I don't know. Watch that.
Charlemagne.
So like the Breakfast Club.
Yeah. So he has his own podcast. So he featured Snoop Dogg on the podcast, and they were kind of going on about Eminem, saying like he's a guest to hip hop.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. Okay.
He's a what?
I guess a guest in hip hop.
A what?
I guess
in hip hop.
Yes.
A guest.
What does that mean? What is implied meaning?
Saying that.
I know it is. I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
Pretty much saying that white people are procreating hip hop, pretty much.
Gentrifying it.
Gentrifying, yeah. Pretty much.
Dresses and shit.
Wait, what do you mean by? Did you say procreating?
Yeah, just like making it like fucking.
I think you mean reappropriating.
Reappropriating? Sorry,
maybe I'm saying it wrong.
Reappropriating sounds more reasonable than procreating.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's the context?
Essentially, white people like hip hop. Obviously, its roots are in, whether you want to call it black or African American, it's ingrained in that culture, and essentially it's been adapted and reappropriated into mass popularity by the white man, which is that's what
reappropriated.
That's what the white man does, right? Okay,
that's all right. I got it.
Reappropriate.
Like that's what we do. We take everything. We have to. We have no choice. It's literally in our English blood. That's the way it goes, But,
no, I honestly didn't understand. So, thanks for clarifying that out.
I totally get it, and I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong to say it all. I don't think it's wrong to say, like, the general statement. I think the correlation is more so because Eminem benefits off his guesthood, him being a passenger, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So that part of it, yeah, I get. But from his perspective, from if you try to step in Eminem's shoes, I don't think I can't imagine that's the way he thinks about it. I can't imagine that's the way anyone would approach something that they love, because he was clearly a man who loved hip hop. He's clearly a man who loves hip hop. I guess he's still doing it, right?
Yeah. So
But
so pretty much what the whole situation was pretty much Snoop Dogg brought up a couple other artists like Kool Herc, like the pioneers of hip hop pretty much, and he said that this is shit that I can't live without, and that shit, referring to Eminem, I can live without.
Live without Eminem, yeah. I heard about that.
Yeah. So then afterwards, it sat in a little bit, and then Eminem kind of went on an interview and was just like, "Yo, we're on the same team. What the fuck?" And then that's kind of how it kind of sparks. You know what I mean?
So was he just voicing his opinion on his taste in music, or was he referring to because he was white?
I think it was just like the tone. I guess the tone that he that Snoop Dogg said it, and it kind of rubbed Eminem the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Who that nigga am? Fuck that nigga am.
Can I pitch a conspiracy theory?
Yeah. So what was Eminem saying about it? Like why did he take offense to it?
He just said what Eminem said.
Well, he said that
specifically about what?
Like he said I never compared myself to Rakim or to the LL Cool J's or Kool Hercs and stuff like that. So pretty much he went on by saying like I just didn't appreciate the way that you came at me saying like the way you said it, like I can live without that shit. But the way he said it was kind of like in a way where he shouldn't have said it either.
But that's Snoop.
That is Snoop, yeah.
That's how he is.
J-Bro, what do you think? Because like I know you kind of you know about this topic a little bit too, yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw like exactly what you saw. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And yeah, you know, to the regular person, like they would probably take that as disrespect. Like us, we looked at it and we're like, yeah, like damn, this guy's disrespecting him. But like on the other hand, it's Snoop. You know what I mean? I totally understand what he means by Kool Herc, guys like Kool Moe Dee, all those guys. He's saying, yeah, I could live with them. That's shit I like. And him saying, I can live without Eminem. Me personally, I can live without Eminem.
I could live without Eminem.
Could definitely live without that.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Subjective.
I think I was reading up on it again, and I think like apparently they're cool. They're cool now.
Yeah.
Apparently they're okay now. But honestly, like, I totally agree with Snoop. Like, but that's just my opinion. You know what I mean?
This is preference. He prefers.
I don't think he meant disrespect at all. But the way the interview went and the way he said it, it obviously came off as disrespectful. You know what I mean? Definitely. And people are gonna say, oh yeah, like he's disrespecting him because he's white. That's automatically that's what people are gonna say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
Like it sounds to me kind of like the intent wasn't to diss Eminem. The intent was to express his love for the roots, for what
legends,
music that inspired him.
The pioneers that made this happen.
That's to me, that's all he was really saying. But obviously, the media is going to take it
as a race bait. Yeah,
that's kind of that's kind of the conspiracy theory. Is exactly that: is to create divide, create segregation.
Yeah,
because that's how you control people. We all know this. We've talked about this a million times on our podcast. Is segregation is a means of control, is a means of dividing people. It's divide and conquer. It's you look at
the situation now, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
It's no different.
Yeah. Like how is anything ever going to heal if all that's going on is just people trying to create tension and strife and then the media making it even worse, right?
I have a solution.
What's your solution? Let's hear it.
A cataclysmic event.
Like aliens? Aliens invade us and we no longer have to care about race because we have a new enemy?
No, humans would still fucking hate on it.
Yeah, we're still going to be racist. Like,
they'd be racist to aliens. They'll still be black.
You know what I mean? We'll be saying, oh, that alien.
But they'll be more racist to the aliens, though, is the point, right?
It's a black alien.
It's a black alien. That's a white alien.
Leave the white one alone.
He
got a pass.
There's no.
That's how it's gonna be. Like,
that would be
it back.
That would.
No, it's gonna be like the movie District 9. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
That's a great movie.
Yes.
Actually, super.
I want to watch that again, man.
Yeah.
The guy in that, like what is he? Is he from New Zealand or South Africa?
Yeah, South African.
That guy, I forget his name. Sorry to whoever the actor's real name is.
If you're watching this,
I love that guy in everything I've ever seen him in. That guy is a fantastic actor in my opinion.
yeah, he's great.
Even a lot of people in like the hip hop industry about that whole thing too. They're like they don't want to see that beef happen either. I know they kind of like squashed it and stuff like that because like
too old for that, man.
Yeah.
These are grown ass mans are like gonna have grandchildren soon, probably. Like the hell.
Yeah.
Still beefing.
I mean, I don't think it's cool, bro. If Mike Tyson fight last month, like
that's not beef.
Yeah, but he's not even a normal person, though.
Too old to engage in the sport. Like, let's say, they did have.
This is a real nigga, dog.
Whatever, and they went into like make diss tracks to each other. I still listen to that.
I definitely listen to a Nas and Jay-Z beef. If it came out.
If Snoop and Eminem come out with diss tracks for each other, I'm just gonna think it's a contrived stunt.
I think Eminem did though.
100%.
You dropped a diss track on
generate engagement.
I think so.
I really hope that's not the case because I don't want to see.
Look it up.
Yeah.
I don't want to see
on his recent album.
On the newest album, yeah.
What is it called? Music to be murdered by.
Of course, it's called that.
I definitely don't like him even more after this. Don't you ever disrespect Uncle Snoop, dog? The hell?
He's a funny motherfucker, man. What does it say about like Asian folks or or brown folks that are in hip hop? Like, 'cause I love hip hop. You know what I mean? Like, do we get the pass?
What do you mean by pass?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
You know what?
What do you mean?
Do we
would an Asian person be a guest? Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, all's welcome at this point in time, fam. You can, no matter who you are,
so
you
let's spit bars. Is that what you're saying?
Yo, art doesn't have a creed or color or religion or political view. If you're fucking nice with it, you're nice with it. I don't care if you're a woman, a man, homosexual. Maybe if you're a racist, I won't listen to your shit. But yeah, I mean, if you're nice, you're nice, man. That's how I've always seen it. That's how I will always see it.
Yeah. And exactly. And
but society always wants to put race and shit in it.
Yeah.
Snoop always want to separate.
Snoop was never saying that Eminem's not nice with it. He was just saying, I can live with it.
That's not my shit. Yeah, exactly.
This is the shit I bump. This is the shit I fuck with.
And I feel like hip hop is probably one of those, it sort of is the trailblazer in terms of entertainment and artistry because anybody who spits bars or who's nice with the melody or flow, they'll get the pass. Whereas like other avenues in the industry, like say pop music or some shit, like you have to have a very specific sound. You have to have a very specific look. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the reason why hip hop is so beautiful and timeless because
diverse.
It is diverse. That diversity welcomes everybody from everywhere, right? It's built from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need
you guys
fucking equipment or all this shit to be nice in hip hop. You just have to have some sick wordplay and dope flow, and
or even beatbox or even dance. Because hip hop, it's not even just all about the bars. Everything's fun.
And dancing,
it's a culture, bro. At this point,
but you remember when that whole fucking Lil Nas X shit went on too? They took his music off of the charts, the Billboard charts.
Why? Why did they? Wait,
because
what happened with that?
They said he wasn't country enough. So they took him off.
We don't let this nigga in here. Oh, I remember that.
So a lot of people say
basically,
I think I heard that.
That's exactly what I read on the headline. I didn't click the article, but I saw the headline and I was like, oh, okay.
And then what's his name? Was that like Miley Cyrus's dad or some shit like that? Who's dad?
Yeah.
Billy Ray. Yeah, give him the pass, bro.
Yeah.
Name the G pass. Forward and up there, he's like, I ain't seen, and everything was blood.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But my point to that is, a lot of people say like black folks in hip hop will accept anybody into the culture, but when it comes to vice versa, it doesn't work the same way either. You know what I mean? Hence why they took his music off of the Billboard charts.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's just life, man.
Yeah. Like a motherfucker.
It's unfortunate.
Like you motherfucker.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Ferrero Rocher. Ferrero Rocher is the classy chocolate for people with an average income.
They just don't know it yet.
They sending you free shit now?
Yeah.
Yo, send that, bro.
It's my Christmas chocolates, bro.
Oh shit.
Send that, bro.
Oh my god.
Send that. Since we're talking about hip hop, I know I don't know if this was pre-podcast, but we talk about how Trump pardoned a whole gang of peeps before he cut like a real one.
Like a real one. That was such a play.
The most notable ones were Kodak Black and Lil Weezy. And I've always been a fan of Kodak Black. And especially he's been, obviously I don't know him personally.
Like, it's so dope.
But
that's crazy.
He's just one of those kids from the hood, obviously.
He's such a character.
But he means well. Like, he's a philanthropist. He's a known philanthropist. He's just caught up in hood shit. Just caught up in hood shit, right? Yeah. But it was somebody like, who was it? Boosie, Lil Boosie.
Yeah.
A long time ago, he told Kodak,
badass.
He said you gotta shed the people that are enabling this, enablers, because you're only gonna end up in a worse situation. And sure enough, man's ended up back in the pen.
Yo, I'm telling you from now, if this man also let out Bobby Shmurda, every nigga in America be voting for this guy re-election, bro.
Yeah, they're like,
money dance, baby.
Can you imagine?
Next election,
he's on that free Bobby Shmurda.
free Bobby, walk around, free Bobby shirts.
I could see that now. That would be like part of his campaign, and he has like the proof because he's already let out Kodak and Lil Weezy. Like, he let out Kodak and Lil Weezy. He'll let out Smurf.
But
free Bobby.
Like the reason why it's huge is because those two artists have a huge platform, right? Enormous following from every spectrum of the financial spectrum, and they can use that to advocate for prison reform, which is like such a terrible. The privatization of that is such a terrible burden, it's a disease on the American economy and society itself, because it's not really regulated. It's pretty much slave labor. The fucking conditions are awful. They're not rehabilitated. I can go on and on. I'm not a specialist on this topic, but our listeners who are familiar with this can definitely chime in. And everybody knows that it's a serious issue. That's just a reoccurring one that destroys generational wealth, destroys families. It promotes segregation, like Ryan said earlier. So hopefully something like that can spark a change, sort of what like Meek Mill was doing a few years back. Even the fact that fucking, of all people, Kim Kardashian is trying to
free niggas.
To help, straight up niggas. Is
some secret ballers out there, Maybe
it's huge because you use your influence for leverage for good, right? As opposed to these people who are notoriously famous and wealthy, but they don't do shit with it, right?
Right. So you can thank Ronald Reagan for putting a lot of putting a lot of people into prison, man. Like,
I thought you just said thank Ronald Reagan. I was like,
you can thank Ronald Reagan for putting a lot of African Americans into jail, right? Like Spike, around his time.
Yeah, time in office, Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. And then after that, Bush, yeah, man, it was fucked, man. And they were putting the wrong people in jail too. You know what I mean? He was the one providing the fucking drugs.
Bush is a war criminal.
And dropping bombs and shit, and running up in countries and shit. He's
both grimy,
Both of them. Yeah, I was just about to say both of them. Like, pretty sure one of them did an attack on his own country, but
they're literally like
just speculation.
demon reincarnated.
Yeah.
Attacker in the country.
I'm gonna blow up my shit so I can go and take their shit. That's so.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna blow up my own shit, blame them,
and run up in their shit and take their shit.
And take that. That's
great.
It's like if you ever broke a plate and then blamed it on your brother or sister. So your parents went and copped a beating on them.
And then you go and teeth their shit.
Exactly. They're too distracted to see you just walked in and took their cookie, bro.
We robbing now.
I can't hold it in. I have to mention this. I can't hold it in. Isn't it such a coincidence that right after Biden was elected into presidency, there was a suicide bombing in Iran?
In Iran today, yeah.
After 4 years of silence in that area.
Yeah, that shit was crazy. I seen that today.
When there's no U.S. troops. All of a sudden, we'll see what happens. You put 2 and 2 together.
Shit is crazy.
You're right about that.
Well, they say war is the biggest moneymaker, right?
War stimulates economies 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everywhere is war.
We'll see the numerology.
That's my conspiracy plug for the day. I can't say
I love that.
I mean, I'd love to go into it, but I honestly don't know enough about it. And I have a very pessimistic view of it, so I'll just be like throwing out all these hot takes.
Yeah.
They're probably really true, but we'll never know the answer for sure.
But yeah, was there anything else you wanted to touch on to our host, Samuel?
Me?
The TGR 905 hoodie.
Yeah, going short.
Rapping.
Cop the blood clot merch.
$8.99.99.
Yeah.
Right? $89.99.
$8.99.99.
That's at $8.99.
Oh,
$8.99.99.
Going up.
Holy.
he accepts
About our fabrics.
cash, gold bullion, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and that's it. E-transfer.
All right. Oh, someone got dropped. Oh, Sammy.
No, what do we do? What do we talk about?
Guys, e-transfer and bounce. Just e-transfer.
He fully redeemed himself until this moment.
Yeah.
Wait, e-transfer?
Like 45 minutes of flawless interaction, and then boom, gone just like that. Quick poll, and hopefully we can get Sammy's input when he comes back. There's a poll for us, and then we'll ask our audience as well.
Yeah.
What is the best chocolate for anyone on a budget?
Balling on a budget chocolate? Or like just
meaning like not some fucking luxury fucking chocolate kind of thing that costs $400 or some shit.
I don't know, man.
About, like if you go to the Shoppers Drug Mart, you go into your grocery store, you go to a fucking actual sweet factory, whatever.
What the fuck is a sweet factory?
Yeah,
like sweet. You ever seen a store? They had one in
like a trap house.
City Center.
Come to that sweet factory, fam. It's sweet in here.
It could also be a strip club, but you ever gone to Sugar Mountain in the Bramley City Center? You ever seen that? It's a franchise. It's a franchise, but essentially it's just like all kinds of different candies, chocolates, whatever. But my question to you guys is like, so the kind of chocolate that any normal person could walk into a store tomorrow and buy, what's the best one?
Snickers, dog.
I like just plain milk chocolate, so like Cadbury, maybe an Aero.
Jeez. You like the bubbles?
Yeah, but I don't like looking at them.
I'm like looking at the chocolate. Don't you ever look at me.
You don't like looking at the chocolate, but you like eating it.
I don't like looking at little bubbles or holes. You know,
so when you take a bite, you're saying you don't like seeing the holes on the side.
This guy just bites it in half and shit.
Guy puts the whole thing in his mouth.
Those are a piece of the pork, though. I read it.
No, I just melt it down and I inject it into my veins.
Give me some of that hot
intravenous cocoa, bro.
Holy shit. Oh, low key, turtles are blessed too.
Turtles are blessed. They're so
those are a good one.
You guys might roast me, but I like Score still.
Score.
Nothing's wrong with score.
No, bro. I get cheese when he scores. It's a free odds thing, you know. If it's a free odds thing, okay. But if the copper score, nah, I ain't copping no score.
No,
that doesn't a minute still.
Yeah, I'll fuck with score, bro. It's a toffee. Is it toffee or caramel, right? I don't know. I don't fucking know.
You know what I think is the best chocolate, but it's not, you don't see it everywhere, is like, you ever had like it's like the Kinder Egg chocolate, but it's in bars. I'm not talking about Bueno. It's like these little tiny Bueno, but it's the chocolate that makes the Kinder Egg.
Yeah,
Bueno's
shit is
fire,
amazing, bro.
It's good. It's good.
But that doesn't fit because you can't find that everywhere. So I would still pitch that our sponsors, Ferrero Rocher, the best chocolate, man. Go walk into any store tomorrow and buy it, pretty much.
Yo, Bueno, dog. Those are blessed. You just brought up the Buenos?
Yeah, for real. Yo, it's funny because my cousin's in the States.
I don't know, man. I like Twix, Old Henry, Kit Kat.
Yeah, you guys naming all of them. Yeah. You gotta pick one. We all have to be Snoop in this scenario. What can we
Wonder Bar's blessed, too.
M&M's.
Which one, though?
Yeah, which one? Which M&M?
The black ones.
So
the chocolate M&M's is the one you're saying.
Peanut M&M's is fire.
Black one. Black baggy. Oh shit!
It's funny that you brought up Bueno too, because my cousins in the States, they don't get Kinders and Buenos of that. So every time I go over there, they'll bring me a pack, yo. So I'll be going over there.
Yeah, they don't get
Kinder Joy is not in the States.
Bueno, man, yo.
They don't get Bueno over there.
That makes me like Kinder so much more because it's like a value proposition for Canada.
Yeah, it should literally increase the value of our dollar.
Yeah, this guy makes a very supreme point.
For a long time, we didn't even have the flaming hot Cheetos.
Things us Canadians like.
Yeah. And the jalapeno one.
Can't get in Canada that we're like, oh, like the States are so much better because they have these things.
Like ketchup chips. Ketchup chips you can't get in the States.
That's another thing we got. I'm not crazy about ketchup chips though.
Spicy ketchup junior chickens, dog.
Yep. No, but in the States they got hot and spicy, which is the same shit as a junior chicken.
Mm-hmm.
But you know.
Yo, in the States they have a variation, like 100 variations of hot. Like you can get hot fries. Yeah, hot everything, yo.
They know what's good.
I think the most amazing thing about the States and the difference between Canada is how far a $20 bill can go at a Taco Bell in the US as opposed to a Taco Bell.
To feed your whole family.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, you could feed a party with $20 for real, in the US if you go to Taco Bell. You get
McDonald's too, bro.
Like 10 big box menus, you know, or meals or whatever.
Dog, in when I went to Miami a couple years ago, bro, you can get a 50-piece chicken nuggets for like, I don't know, like $10 or something like that.
No,
and like, take this in. At certain hours down there.
What hours?
No, real
no one comes outside.
You get like,
I got chicken nuggets.
Like 50 cents, $1, and it's just like, yo, top like 6.
Like it goes on sale, like the meat's going back.
Bro, certain hours of the day, like it's like a happy hour thing. Like you go to Sonic. Yo,
I don't know if I can legally call
it. I'll never forget.
Sonic is fire.
When I was in Houston, take this in. I was in Houston, and when they have Tuesday, bam, you get 2 pieces of chicken at Popeyes for a single American dollar.
What?
And that's why they all look beast over here, brother.
That ain't no Toonie Tuesday
for $2.
Well, I call it Toonie Tuesday. They call it Dollar Tuesday.
It's a Looney Tuesday, bro.
I didn't feel bad about throwing out a piece of chicken because I was
just dashes. I don't need this. Just dash your chicken like it's other. Get out of here, bro.
I'm balling.
4 pieces of chicken for $2? That sounds absurd to me. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean that over here you get a 2-piece for like what?
$6.
$6. Like that's
bullshit, bro. Some bullshit.
It's like $4.99.
Back in the day, Tuesday Popeye just come with 2 pieces of chicken, fries, and a biscuit.
Mm-hmm. Remember Toonie Tuesday at KFC?
It wasn't orange. It was blue and red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but the Toonie Tuesday for KFC was the one. You had to choose between the sandwich or the chicken, dog.
Yeah.
You had the options, and they're both blessed.
You don't have that no more.
Too.
Now you gotta pay for the fries, bro. What do you mean?
What about Whopper Wednesday though? I want to throw that in the mix.
There's no more Whopper Wednesday, bro.
There's still Whopper Wednesday. It's just not. It's not. It's not as big. It's not as big a deal as it used to be.
Are you sure
$2 for $8 now? No, it's $2 for $8. It's $2 for $8 every day, bro.
You still can get a Whopper at a discount
every
price
day.
on Wednesday. It's not full price on Wednesdays, bro.
Whoppers are trash.
I go to Burger King all the time, bro.
I don't know. I haven't ate fast food in forever, so I don't even fucking know anymore.
There's no fast food out in Orangeville anyways, bro.
Yeah. Wi-Fi, dog. What do you mean?
The closest fucking fast food is fucking 20 minutes away, bro.
Yeah. We went there already.
You gotta eat Sammy's Wi-Fi.
You gotta eat it there.
Bro, delivery service is going to come out where I am, bro.
Because they can't find your fucking house.
Nah, nobody going out there.
Meet you halfway and meet you by these end. Maybe at this gas station, dog.
You have to open up like a P.O. box just to get food delivered to you.
You gotta meet them halfway.
Meet a man at a gas station.
Gas station for your papa.
Yo, caught me some bogies and I'll give you half and off, bro. Don't worry.
I'll give you 3 bogies.
In the buzz, everything closes at 9 or 10 o'clock.
Oh shit!
That's like a blessing in disguise, man.
Welcome to Orange.
What? Everything closing at 9 or 10 o'clock?
Because that limits your opportunity to indulge.
Okay, I get it from that perspective. But like, if you live downtown, let's say you live downtown and everything.
2 in the morning, you're just eating.
How would you feel?
Chinese food and shit? You're blessed.
No, yo, to go back to Nico's point, they just don't have enough people to buy shit. That's why.
No demand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's just all it boils down to. Ain't not enough people out here.
They're coming. Don't worry. That's rapid expansion.
Mass migration.
You know, there's
I read this article where more and more millennials, whatever that means, are moving out of the city. And
honestly, it's nice, bro.
Housing's not affordable.
A shed
in the city, right?
Fucking
1.2 mil for like,
bro.
Nothing,
if you ain't got shit, you can't even buy a house in Brampton, pretty much.
Apparently, the average price in is $1 million.
It's over. Yep, I was reading that.
1.2.
Crazy.
Fuck. I'm pretty sure. Can't you build a house for
everyone says
less than that? Just build it.
You can essentially build a house that is much bigger on a large plot of land.
Yeah.
For either just under $1 million or over $1 million, just a little over $1 million, depending on your cost of land. So that's depending on your location.
Or even $500,000, depending where you are, bro.
Land never depreciates.
What's going to cost you is the permits is what's going to cost you.
Well, it's more of a that's built into the cost. I've already looked into this. Me and Lisa, we looked at kind of the cost, and yes, it will in the end cost you more, and it will take more effort to build your own house. In the sense that if you go buy a plot of land and then build a house on it, because the whole process of purchasing land, first of all, it's harder to get. So in Canada, there's the first time buyers program. I'm not exactly sure if you can use that. That's a huge advantage to anyone who's trying to buy a house.
3.5%.
You can't necessarily use. I don't think you can use that if you're buying land. First of all,
I don't think so.
Second of all,
first time landowner.
Second of all, you would have to have a much higher down payment.
It's just like anything.
Purchase the land
and more interest.
It'll take a lot longer to do it because you're doing everything privately. There's lots of things that can speed up the process, but again, as Sammy mentioned, you also have to go through permits and red tape, and there's no guarantee things will go absolutely your way. But potentially, you could get a huge plot of land and build your dream home, essentially your dream property.
We should all just fucking.
Commune? TGR commune?
I've been saying this, bro. We can grow our own weed and mushrooms, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Big enough plot of land, we could even have separate houses on it.
Container houses too, just for little stew and podcast area.
Yeah.
So you remember that ignorant shit a couple years back? That monster house in Brampton where they got stopped because their shit was just way too big.
Oh,
you heard about that?
What you're talking about?
It's right on Kennedy. It was Kennedy and fucking.
I think I know what you're talking about, but they were doing something illegal, right?
They just built way. They didn't.
They had a casino in there.
Casino in there?
I don't remember that. But that's
so
sick if they did.
They were like drug dealers too, or something. No, I swear to God, I think I might be referring to a different story.
Oh, Niagara's too far. Don't worry.
If any of our listeners know, please fucking DM us or whatever, or comment with the answer.
Check it
and put a little timestamp for us or something.
But yeah, any closing statements or words of advice from any of y'all?
You should make love, not war, fam.
Fair enough. That's good. Sammy?
Closing statements.
Or anything that's on your mind that you
be mindful of the things you take in every day, and just be on your own path, man. Be on your own path, regardless of if you have any kind of vices or whatever. Just be mindful, man.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like an episode from Lost and Found podcast coming soon. Actually, there was this one thing I wanted to briefly mention that I read up on today. It's called the 5-hour rule. Have you guys heard of that?
What is it?
5-hour rule. I think I've heard of it.
5-hour rule?
I think I'm mixing it up with the 525 rule.
What's the 525 rule?
The 525 rule is I think it's like Warren Buffett's thing to success. You write down 25 of your goals that you want to accomplish, and you
pick the top five,
and you forget about the rest. Whatever 5 of the top priorities to you, you forget about the rest.
Yeah, no, that ain't it. But I've heard of that.
What's the rule?
So basically, the 5-hour rule is a discipline made by this guy his name was Michael Simmons or something. So basically, he said if you wanted to be great at anything or proficient at anything, you have to spend at least 5 hours a week doing that one thing, or 1 hour a day. And this thing has been adopted by people like Jack Ma, who is still missing, I think. We should talk about that next time.
Really? What?
Yeah, dude, he's been missing for time, bro.
It's crazy.
Because he chirped the CCP.
Yeah.
So they fucking made him go bye-bye, even though he's one of the richest men on the planet. Anyways,
it's crazy.
Bill Gates does this too. But so yeah, I was just thinking about it. I was like, man, I think people do that without realizing it. Because once you become passionate or very intrigued or interested in something, that you do it subconsciously. I mean, you don't think about doing it, but you end up doing it, whether it be watching YouTube videos or for an hour, or reading books for an hour on a particular thing that you want to get good at, right? Whether that be making beats or stock market or exercise or healthy eating, blah, blah, blah. It's whatever. But I don't know. Did you I was only mindful of it when I read the article, and I was like, yeah, I've literally been doing that for the past X amount of months, but I haven't really paid attention to it. And I was wondering how long I've been doing that, probably for quite a long time now. It's very interesting. And it is a good template. Like 5 hours a week is at the minimum is very good starting point. I mean,
if you can commit 5 hours a week to doing something that you love or a skill that you want to develop, 100%. If you can dedicate that minimum time, you're going to make incremental improvements, and and then hopefully, I guess, kind of the idea too is that you'll eventually, without thinking, be spending more than 5 hours a week without even realizing that you're doing it.
Right. And I guess it's sort of like the 10,000 hour rule, right? Mm-hmm. To become a master, you must spend 10,000 hours doing this thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Same principle.
That's my
Rod?
You're close.
Whole spiel on
Kodak free.
Kodak free.
They don't want to see a nigga living.
They want to see you winning.
I hope he drops music soon too, man.
Yeah,
that'd be
he will.
Trust me,
he
I
definitely will. Probably made bear bars in the bin too.
I hope the music is good though. You know what I mean? I hope he's still on a wave. You know, a lot of people go to the bin and they come out and they treat like trash.
Yeah.
Look what happened to Shine, bro. Shine was popping for a bit. Came out of the bin after like 15 years.
Crazy.
It was trash.
Yeah, but you know, he done changed, bro. He like grew up in shit, seen some shit in the jail. It's like, I try and come back here, fam.
True.
Yeah.
Did he destroy his life?
You know what I mean? Facts.
Right guy? Anything?
I mean,
TGR plugs, perhaps?
you know, all kinds of shit. But you gotta keep living. LIVIN it. Don't trust what you hear, not even from us. Don't trust anything. Question
Don't trust
everything.
Don't trust these niggas.
Question everything always. Humble listeners, and from all of us at TGR, you know, check out TGR905.com. You know, check us out on IG, TGR_905, if I'm not mistaken. You know, check out the Green Room podcast on Spotify. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, all that fucking good shit. Turn on those bell notifications so when we put out new content, you know what's going on.
Pop your merch.
You know?
And yo, let us know if you all are fucking with these weekly Zoomies. We'll keep up content out as much as possible. So yeah,
then that's the next podcast. Zoomies on Zoom.
Zoomies on Zoom.
Man.
Oh jeez, we're just being in there.
By ourselves that are in our own crib.
Zooming on.
But Sammy, thank you again for hosting this episode.
You guys,
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it, brother.
Yo,
hopefully I redeem myself, bro, because the last week was a
except for that.
I mean, you did 5 minutes.
Gucci, Gucci.
And then came back sideways, but it's okay.
I rate it.
But let them know where they can find you one more time.
You can find me on Instagram at lost.x.found. That's my
thing right here. Real quick, because I know he's editing it.
Jeez.
That's my new baby, man. I would point you to my personal Instagram, but you know, I'm stripping in the evenings. I don't want the hoes to come get me and shit.
Jeez, they're gonna have to drive fucking 70 minutes.
Quite far.
I'm gonna be trying to make it.
Appreciate you guys again, man. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, stay blessed. No stress.